Fear Walking Dead, which I know many people didn't, there are definitely hosts of this very program that would agree with you for much of it. So you will have catharsis if you listen to those episodes with your thoughts being parroted. But now we're here to talk the main Walking Dead show, and this was definitely a return to form. This was a very cool episode at 90 minutes. I think the general reaction I've been getting from people is like either best episode ever or one of the best episodes ever. I thought it was solid. I don't know that I'd go so far as to say best episode ever, not even best season premiere. I think I liked last year's season premiere more, but it was really good. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it.
No, I agree. If I track my Buster ratings over the years, I would give last season opener, and I did give it a 5. I'll go into what I think about this one later. I don't think it was any better than that one. Let's just leave it at that. It was a great an hour and a half of television. If The Walking Dead can keep this quality coming, there's no stopping the show.
And we're joined by Jim. How you doing, Jim?
I'm a little bit late from helping Carol with her casserole, but I'm good, thanks.
What did you think of the season premiere?
I loved it. Thought it was great. I liked the little artistic license with the flashbacks in black and white. I thought that worked really well. I love the explanation not only of why we had so many zombies, but the fact that we're so many zombies. And I don't know, it's pretty much everything I look for in the show. Good character moments, lots of zombie action, high tension stakes, good storytelling all around. I really enjoyed it a lot. I was very happy.
So shall we get into the recap?
Let's do it.
Let's.
Alrighty. Season 6, Episode 1 was entitled First Time Again. It was directed by Greg Nicotero and written by Scott M. Gimple and Matthew Negrete, and aired on October 11th, 2015, with a running time of 66 minutes. It was an extra long episode.
Seems like a lot of my favorite episodes are the Nicotero and Gimple conflagration, like the two of them working together, either Nicotero directing and Gimple writing, or since Gimple's been the showrunner, Nicotero just directing and stuff. Those tend to be a lot of my favorite episodes, and this is no exception.
Yeah, well, I'll agree. That collaboration between Nicotero and Gimple is definitely the best. I mean, Nicotero is by far their best director, and he's really just a special effects guy that has morphed into their best director, and he's just amazing at it. The actors want to work for him, and you can tell. Gimple really was the best writer on the show, and hence has become the showrunner. So when you get those two together, those are the two heavyweights by far.
We had a number of guest actors in this episode. We had Ethan Embry as Carter, Corey Hawkins as Heath, Kenrick Justin Green as Scott, Michael Traynor returning as Nicholas, Jason Douglas returning as Tobin, Austin Abrams returning as Ron, Ted Huckabee as Bruce, Dahlia Legault as Francine, Anna Mahoney as Olivia, and introducing Major Dodson as Sam Anderson.
Now, you guys know what happens when the cast gets this big on The Walking Dead.
It means a surprisingly few amount of people died in this episode. I was expecting a lot more, actually, with all the new faces and the red shirts and such. Only one death. Spoilers, but yeah.
It seems to be with these openers, it seems to be a 3-episode arc. I don't know if it's intentional or it just seems that way. I think we're going to see something in the next couple of episodes for sure. They seem to break it up into chunks, and like even the preview that we saw, the Comic-Con preview, the trailer, I should say, that seemed to be more clips than just from this first episode. It seemed to be over the first couple 3. So we may see some carnage of the main characters coming.
Well, and I should be clear, I'm not saying that the lack of deaths was a bad thing or something like that. I was just kind of surprised, that's all. Especially with the stakes they were dealing with and the sheer number of bodies they were dealing with, both undead and alive. I was just surprised it wasn't more carnage. But I'm sure we will get more throughout the season.
Yeah, I guess the only one to die, if we think about it here, was just one character was introduced today. I mean, in that first show, that was it. He introduced and then dead in one show.
Yeah, although I gotta say, that was Ethan Embry Carter. Had I not known that he was not in last season, I would have just assumed he was there. Like, he fit in very well and very, he felt like he was already part of the DNA of Alexandria, and I thought that was a pretty good accomplishment. That, it already felt like, oh yeah, this guy's been around, right?
Yeah, very good casting. In fact, you almost mistake him with Tobin. He's kind of that same character.
I think I did in a few scenes, actually. He looks a lot like, he looks like Tobin if Tobin lost like 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Not that he's overweight or anything, but he's just like a bulky dude.
Yeah.
He's just like a skinnier version. And slightly shorter, I think, as well. So the main conceit of this episode, I guess we can say, is that we're being told one story in 2 different time periods. We're being told one story about a week. Would you say about a week after last season's finale?
Well,
4 days to a week, maybe?
Let's think about this, because they're burying the bodies, and that's when they find the walkers in the quarry. And then
so that's a day later. Then they have to like build the walls and move them in there.
So maybe within a week, I would say, because his wounds start to heal on his face. I guess that's a
that's a good idea. Yeah, I think about that.
Yeah, so they went deliberate to show it. It's maybe within a week. I mean, they wouldn't let the quarry sit there for, let's say, 2 weeks. They want to take some action on that pretty quick.
Right. I think for convenience sake, for the sake of our episode here, I'm going to say a week later, but it might be a little bit less, a little bit more. Who knows? But so we're being told that story of a problem we're dealing with that they've come up with an interesting solution to. But we're also getting told the story to us of what happened directly after the season 5 finale and everything leading up to this week later story. And the main way we can tell that in the episode is that the week later stuff is in color, and the flashbacks to right after the season finale are in black and white, which evokes the comic, which is in black and white. It evokes the first season, which they released later in black and white. There's actually quite a few callbacks to the first season in this episode, which I'm sure we'll get into. You probably caught most of them yourself just watching the episode, but you never know. We might call out something that you missed along the way.
The one thing with black and white, let's just talk about this for 1 second. I remember watching the season 1 in black and white, and then comparing it to this one, this seemed a little darker, a little grainier to me. I don't know if it was just that was a style choice they did, but it was. I mean, maybe it's my DirecTV signal, maybe it's just crummy and it's pixelating the whole thing, but it just seemed kind of grainy and dark. Whereas the first season that they did in black and white looked cleaner to me.
It's possible. It could be just a different DP, different focus pull, that kind of thing. It could be did they film the first season on film?
Maybe they did. You're right. They probably did, and that's why. That's a good point. So maybe now they're shooting digital. That it looks different when you convert it to black and white. Because I think they were saying on The Talking Dead that they originally tried to do like a sepia tone or a washed out tone, and it didn't look right. It looked funny. It looked too bright and cheery. So they said, let's just make it black and white with flashback scenes, and that was what they agreed to. And it definitely worked.
Yeah, I think it worked. It was definitely different than those first season episodes in terms of the actual color saturation. But I wouldn't say either one was necessarily better than the other. They're just different.
Yeah, it didn't bother me.
In weird ways, it's like a shout out to the comic book, which has always been in black and white.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and there was a couple of frame shots that it looked like it could have been ripped from a comic book. Obviously, I don't think it was necessarily some of them, with Morgan being in it and all that, but they definitely framed it like it was a comic book frame. I like that. One quick thing too, though, before we get into this one, I guess I missed the stinger or the after episode scenes from the last season finale, where Michonne puts the sword, takes it off the wall, puts it on her back, and they see the wolf pack. I totally missed that, and I thought that was the cold open for this week's show. And there was no theme song. I'm like, what is going on here? I must have totally missed that. I guess that's on me.
I think a lot of people missed it last season, actually. It was just one of those things where, for whatever reason, I mean, it's not like they do it all the time, but they do it occasionally. Particularly last season, I think they did 2 or 3 times with like Morgan stuff.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of people missed it with the season finale last year.
It was just so funny. Like, where's the theme? What's going on here? What are they doing? Going to commercial about this kung fu show? What's happening?
So we start the episode with not even the last moment of last season, but actually the second to last moment, not counting that post-credit scene, if you will, where it's Rick shooting Pete, which I guess was some confusion last year. Some people weren't sure if he actually shot Pete or shot Reg. He definitely shot Pete. And it fades to black in that moment, but as it's fading to black, it's also going to black and white in that moment, which was a nice touch, kind of letting you know both things. And then I think right from there we go to to a week later, if that's what we're calling it, in color, right? Isn't that the next thing then with the quarry?
It jumps around so much. I mean, yeah, the story weaves back and forth through time, and yeah, it goes from black and white to the color scene of the quarry where Rick is organizing the group. That's correct.
So they're standing at the top of this quarry, which, hey, as we're talking about flashbacks to the first season or references, first off, this episode is called First Time Again. Morgan's there just like he was there in the pilot. We've got a quarry just like we had in the first season. I don't think it's the same quarry. I mean, I recognize it's not the same quarry in the fiction. I don't think it's the same one in real life either. I think this one is slightly bigger. But Rick is outlining a plan because this quarry is filled with thousands of walkers. They had, I believe they said 1,000 extras, but they've obviously digitally replicated them to have probably tens of thousands in this quarry. and they're going to lure the walkers out of the quarry away from the safe zone, and there's a bunch of trucks blocking the different entrances, but as they're working on the plan, which they're not going to carry out right then, they're going to do it later, this is just a dry run, one of the trucks blocking the way of the zombies falls into the quarry, just from all the zombies pushing against it, and they decide, well, we're going to have to do it live, we're going to have to do it now, even though we haven't really gotten a chance to work this plan out, we have no other choice but to do it now, and so they put the plan into action.
He even says, he makes a reference to that Bill O'Reilly. We'll do it live. He
Yes.
said, we'll do it live.
I thought the same thing. I was thinking that in my head. Do it live. That was just perfect. I don't know if he channeled that or not, but it sounded just like that. And getting to the CGI, I thought they did the walkers very well. It's hard to make people motion with CGI. I mean, they did a really good job. You really felt like...
Well, was it CGI or was it just digital replication, where they film 1,000 standing over here, and then they move them over, and then 1,000 over here, and then move them over again, and then digitally composite it?
I guess they had to manipulate it somehow digitally, but it looked very good. The part that didn't look good, and I'm sure you all agree with this, is that truck falling off the cliff. It
was a little dicey, but...
I mean, they spent so much money on special effects, and they take a little bit better CGI than that. I mean, a truck falling off, it just looked very, very false to me, very fake. It took me out of it for a moment.
I don't know, I mean, it is what it is. At a certain point, this episode looked expensive. If there's one thing in it that didn't work as well, I'm not gonna worry about it too much. It was such a small part of the episode. We were already moving on to like 7 other things. It was like, okay, I guess that didn't look very good, but whatever.
Yeah.
We're moving on. Just like a zombie getting its skin ripped off as it pushes its way between 2 trucks, which looked awesome.
That was a great effect. That was amazing special effect. And that was practical. I was watching The Talking Dead afterwards. They took strings or something and made his skin rip open as he walked past the trucks. And
Prosthetic skin, we should say, not his actual skin.
No, not, I hope it's not his actual skin. And they said that was the same walker that killed Dale, incidentally.
Right, which that walker has been, they mentioned it, has been in the show multiple times. I forget all the other ones. Because I know for a while it was like Greg Nicotero, who was the recurring zombie we'd see all the time. It seems like this other guy has kind of taken up that mantle as Nicotero has moved more to directing.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dale, I'm pretty sure that later on, one of those blockades is made of trucks and RVs that really looked a lot like Dale's RV, to the point where I'm like, hey, wait a minute.
So we get to a flashback showing the events leading up to Rick executing the plan. Following the town council meeting, Deanna mourns the loss of Reg while denouncing Father Gabriel, because he deserves it. Morgan tells Rick about the wolves and the things that happened in the past when Rick hears the sounds of digging in the background, or in the distance. And he goes and finds Gabriel and another Alexandrian burying Pete and Reg's corpses. Deanna shows up and tells him to bury Pete's corpse outside the safe zone, which was Rick's idea in the first place.
Here's the important part about the scene, okay? Rick tells him that, no, we don't bury killers inside these walls. And then Deanna backs him up.
Right.
That's the big thing. Like,
Yeah.
there's a moment there where you're not sure whether Deanna's going to side with Rick or side with the preacher, but then she sides with Rick. And that is like something that's very important to the rest of the episode, that Deanna's turned a lot in 100% behind Rick.
Which, I understand the sentiment of what Rick and she are saying, but I've got to agree with Morgan later on in the episode, who points out, like, you don't bury killers in here, you're a killer, I'm a killer, we're all killers. If you're not a killer, you're not alive at this point.
It's like giving out speeding tickets at the Daytona 500.
Yeah, exactly. So Pete's son, Ron, overhears the conversation, and he follows Rick and Morgan outside the safe zone where they're going to bury Pete's body. Well, when Morgan's going to bury it, and Rick just wants to kind of leave it there because screw that guy. But Ron attracts some zombies, they follow him, Rick and Morgan fight the zombies off, and in the process, they discover that there's this quarry filled with zombies. And they more or less realize that it's kind of become a natural walker trap where you get a few zombies in there, they make noise, they can't quite get out, more zombies hear them, they fall down into the quarry, they can't get out, they make more noise, which attracts more zombies. So at this point, you've just got tens of thousands of zombies trapped 20, 30, 40, 50 feet down in this giant pit where they can't get out of it. For now, there's trucks blocking the way, but if they ever get past the trucks, the town's going to have a huge, huge problem.
And this is an interesting thing, I mean, that Rick points out that this is why Alexandria has had it so easy throughout the entire apocalypse. This is like a natural barrier to their city, and that's why.
Sort of like the swamp at Herschel's farm.
Right, exactly. And I also have to say, these scenes with Rick and Morgan, they're kind of peppered through the whole episode, are probably some of my favorite scenes in the whole of the series.
Oh, yeah.
Just those two actors working off of each other, and the history that they've had during the series as characters, those scenes really clicked for me. I really enjoyed those a lot.
They're acting as superior. And if you think about it, though, I mean, Morgan's only been in 2 episodes with lines, right? The other ones he's kind of peeked in, and you see him at the end of the credits.
3. The pilot clear, and then the finale last year, he had a few lines. Remember, all like his precious tale.
Okay, so he had a few lines. All right, a few acting scenes with Rick. I guess we'll qualify it that
There
way.
we go. Yeah, this is only the third time.
This only, and they do seem so natural. In fact, I noted that in my notes here. Just superior acting. Even that scene, not to jump too far ahead, but on the porch where he hands the baby over. Just excellent acting on their part. Lenny James, by the way, his credit was in the top billing on the show where the credits are. So that was pretty good. Looks like he's here to stay. I hope.
Let's hope so for sure. Yeah, they definitely got that British pretending to be Southern American camaraderie going on. That's for sure.
They got it down.
And there's a few lines. I think the line that really sticks out is "You ask, I answer." That's a direct callback to something from the pilot. Between them, only it's reverse this time. Rick saying "You ask, I answer," where in the pilot it was Morgan saying that kind of thing.
I totally missed that. That's such a great call. It was from the pilot, wasn't it? Because he thought Rick was bitten, he was in bed or something like that, right? You ask, I answer, I'll shoot you.
When they said it in this episode, I noted it as being a very strange line, and then it was on Reddit yesterday that I saw someone posted the screenshots of those scenes. I was like, oh, right, of course, it was a callback, which is why the line sounded so strange, but it makes sense in the
So you should have
context.
just taken credit for knowing that.
No, I'm not that. My memory's terrible. So at the end of that scene, Rick kind of yells at Ron. This is, of course, Pete and Jesse's son. He kind of dresses him down a little bit, says, this is dangerous, you're going to get yourself killed, you shouldn't follow us out here, I don't care that you want to see where your father's buried, yada, yada, yada. But by the end of the scene, Rick has joined Morgan with digging a grave. He wasn't going to do it first, now he's going to do it. So Rick heads back to town with Morgan and Ron to warn Alexandria about the imminent threat. He comes up with this plan to release the walkers from the quarry and then lure them about 20 miles away from the safe zone. So get them away, move them slowly, just kind of death march them from the quarry up the hill. They're going to follow cars that are making noise, and they'll follow the noise, they'll follow each other. And as long as we're careful, as long as we're safe, we can get them far, far away from the safe zone and not here as this imminent pot ready to boil over and kill us all.
Now, was this about the time we get that really good scene with Rick and Daryl?
They jump back and forth so much. It's hard. Yeah, it is towards the middle of the episode. You're right.
Yeah, I think it's about the time, because that really stuck out for me too. That scene with Norman Reedus and Andrew Lincoln, where Rick's telling Daryl that they shouldn't let anyone back in, and Daryl doesn't agree.
Yeah, they shouldn't go recruiting. And then there's a black and white scene then after that where he says, look, I'll follow you, Rick, but really we should be looking for people. You got to reconsider this or something.
Right.
So while they're planning this trek to get the zombies out of the hole, most of Rick Group's volunteers to help, while many of the Alexandrians balk at the risk. Deanna, however, approves Rick's plan, and Carter, who we're introduced to here, who, spoilers, he's going to die by the end of the episode, he's kind of the most vocal opponent to Rick at the town meeting, but I think it's attributed equally to the writing and the acting. I kind of really understood where this guy was coming from. At least for me, he did not come off as, like, petty or as just a coward. All the things he was bringing up were very smart, logical things of, this might not work because X, Y, and Z. This is probably a really bad plan. Now, obviously, we're supposed to disagree with him because he's opposing Rick, but he was making really good points. So kudos to the writing and to the acting there, that he didn't just come off as some weirdo jerk.
Yeah, and he also mentioned that actor was on The Talking Dead, and he said that he was playing that character, so either he got this direction or it was in the script, I don't know, but he was playing this character as if he was Rick that didn't have any experience in the world. He was Rick in the walls for the last 2 years. That's who he was, without the knowledge of the carnage that's out there.
So later on, Carter goes and he organizes a secret meeting. It's him, I think it was Holly, Tobin, and the woman who fell from the crane last season, and I forget her name. I liked her, but I can't remember her name. They're organizing a secret meeting where Carter's saying, we should kill Rick, he's going to get us all killed, we should take him out first. And Eugene overhears them, but he's discovered because he's clumsy and drops a jar. And Carter is about to maybe kill Eugene, or at least just threaten him, when Rick and a couple others walk in. Rick quickly disarms him and is about to kill him when Morgan tells him, yeah, there's was it Morgan or Daryl? One of them tells him basically, Rick, don't shoot him. That's a really stupid thing to do at this moment.
I think Daryl just
He
said
says,
Rick,
no,
right? He just said
Rick
Rick.
said Rick. Yeah, he said like, Rick, you're good.
Yeah, that's
and
what
Rick said, yeah, I'm good, and he flipped the gun around
Yeah.
and put it away. Speaking of Eugene, there's that awesome scene, and I think it might be right before this too, where Eugene's guarding the gate, and Heath and his group come back.
Right.
And like, as they're walking through, he's like, I really respect the hair game, dude.
Yes.
Some great lines in this one. Seriously, that was a good scene. And I like the character of Heath, by the way.
Heath is a cool character. I like him in the books as well. I did notice, and this was a good thing I thought, in some of the like the behind-the-scenes photos we've seen of Heath, I didn't think the wig looked very good. But actually in motion on the show, I thought it was just fine and passable. As I could almost accept it as his real hair. It's enough that it's not distracting.
It's not any worse than Michonne's, right? I mean,
Michonne at least has the headband most of the time.
Yeah,
It covers the hairline.
Mm-hmm.
He does not have that. And it would be nice if they got him something. But yes, I respect the hair game. I respect the hair game line from Eugene was quite awesome.
very, very cool. And what was Eugene doing in the commissary? I mean, obviously, he was going for midnight snack, right? Is that what he was doing in there?
Oh, probably, yeah.
Okay. I mean, so he's going for the little snacky poo, and they're having a clandestine meeting in there. Just great acting. What's his name? McDermott? Josh McDermott is his name.
Yes.
Really, really good acting. I mean, you could feel the fear coming from him through the screen. You know, he was sweating. Just excellent acting on his part.
And like you said, Jordan, the guy that played Carter too really acquitted himself well. There's that scene where he's holding the gun on Eugene, and he's thinking, well, if he's really going to go through this plan, then he has to kill Eugene. But then he's like full of hesitation because he's killing basically an innocent man. And this is like something that our group has dealt with time and time again throughout the course of the show. But like these people in Alexandria haven't.
Right.
He heard us. He heard us.
And even the people he's trying to convince are all like kind of gobsmacked that he's actually considering shooting this guy.
Yeah, I thought it was smart usage of who they decided to put in that meeting, because all of the people in the meeting with Carter are people we've seen in the previous season, and none of which were painted as villains in any way. They're all painted as pretty decent people. Even like Tobin, who may have been a bit of a coward and not the best foreman when it came to building the walls, he was man enough to step up and say, hey, Abraham should be in charge, it shouldn't be me. Like, all of them are people that we at least don't dislike, which was a smart choice. It wasn't just randos in there or something like that. They made very good choices with people to have there.
And they immediately throw him under the bus. Rick walks in, he's like, Eugene's like, they're talking about taking you down or whatever, Rick, and he's like, and I think it was Tobin, one of them,
Tobin.
like, he's talking about it.
Right.
And to be fair, Carter owned up.
We're not with him.
To be totally fair, Carter owned up. He's like, it was me. I was the one who said we should kill you. Don't take it out on them. So good for him at least.
And of course, that's the scene where you say, "Do you have any idea who you're talking to?" Did you notice they used an alternate take? Did you notice that? Okay.
Did I notice my favorite line from that trailer? Yeah, it was still a good reading of the line, but it didn't have that same inflection on "you're talking," like that specific turn of phrase.
I mean, we would have noticed it if they didn't play that preview 100 times in the last 3 weeks. But you're expecting to see it that way on the screen, and it comes in a different way. It's like, okay, that was an alternate take they used on the preview.
That happens all the time in trailers for movies or TV, so I kind of got used to it. But
Yeah.
I was all like quoting along with the TV, and I was like, wait a second, that's different.
And I also noticed during the scene where Rick is getting his band together or whatever to do his plan, Father Gabriel volunteers and Rick's like, no thanks.
Yeah, that was in the
I
notes too.
laughed so hard at that.
Yeah, he goes, "I'll do it." He goes, "No, anyone else?"
No. Anyone else? Like pretty much anyone else.
Does anyone want to volunteer? Anyone who be less useless than Father Gabriel?
Anyone not totally useless? Anyone?
There's a lot of time leaving here, so my notes are kind of in order of the episode. But there was a scene where Carol was called out by Morgan, saying, "Hey, you look like you cop too. You're very aware of things going on around here." Very, very cool scene with those two.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but they've never met before. He has no idea that she's become this. Well, first off, he has no idea that she was never badass.
Yeah.
He hasn't seen her become this badass either. But Morgan is smart enough to pick up on the fact that she is so much more than she lets on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yet another reason to love Morgan.
Well, yeah, she has to tell him that she's been with Rick since Atlanta because, like I said, Morgan's never met her.
But she, interestingly enough, she chooses to continue to play dumb or to play demure. Like she's not trusting him.
She goes, "Aren't you sweet? Aren't you sweet? Yeah, here's some water."
All I'm gonna say is, if we trust Carol, and I tend to think that Carol's pretty trustworthy, she might make the hard calls from time to time, but she's one of the smartest characters on the show. If she's choosing not to trust Morgan, does that mean that we shouldn't trust him either fully?
I don't think so. I mean, Rick's pretty open and trusting to him. I just don't think she is familiar enough with him yet. You know what I mean?
That's a fair point.
To make that judgment, one short conversation really isn't really enough. At least in my experience, to really judge someone's character. So
I would say it's definitely worth noting that scene though, because since they chose to write and show that scene, it will probably come back up later in one form or another. And I'm interested to see how that plays out.
And in a town hall meeting as well inside the house, she even was saying, "Oh my goodness, I'm so terrified. We have to do something," or something to that effect. So she's still playing that role very, very well for the Alexandrians.
Right. In the present, Daryl, Sasha, and Abraham are using themselves as bait to lure the escape walkers away from Alexandria. Abraham and Sasha are in a car, she's driving, and Daryl's on his motorcycle.
coolest shot ever, or what?
Oh, yeah.
Norman Reedus on that chopper and like hundreds of walkers behind him, just out of reach.
And it was such a
What
long
great-
shot too. That was what, 90
yeah.
seconds probably?
Well, they time jumped it though. They started him
Yeah.
coming over the hill, then they time jumped, then they went back to him coming over that hill. Excellent shot.
Really good stuff.
Meanwhile, Glenn, Nicholas, and Heath are proceeding with their part of the plan. There's a was it an auto parts store, I guess, or a dealership?
Like a tractor supply company, some kind of
Yeah,
farm,
that's what it's
agricultural.
there's zombies inside, so they got to take care of them before the big horde of zombies gets to them, because the noise is going to distract the zombies. And they've got cars and walls set up to kind of herd the zombies and force them down a certain path, but they don't want any distractions, so they're going to have to go in there and kill the zombies. There's some funny stuff where they're going to have to get the door open, and there's a fence behind it, so they have to shoot out the windows. It works out, everybody's fine. But this is mostly our main scene where we're not introduced to Heath, but we're shown that Heath is capable, he's a funny guy, he's a nice guy, and he's going to fit in well with this group, I think.
Plus, we get a bit of redemption for what's his face.
Yeah, Nicholas gets to at least buy back his way to only kind of terrible.
Right. Exactly. He's not totally cool yet, but he earned a few brownie points this time.
He's definitely recognized the error of his ways, or at least recognized that his previous path was going to end with him dead, and he's at least trying not to die anymore. Whether or not he's totally on our side or not, we'll see. But he's at least wise up to the fact that he can't act like he's not on our side.
I still don't understand why this guy's around. I mean, I think I do. They're trying to show that Rick would have taken him out. Glenn is a different person. He's trying to redeem this guy and have some redemption in him. But I mean, let's go backwards a little bit. Nicholas, he got Noah killed. Then he took Glenn out to the woods and tried to kill him last episode. Or I guess it was the last episode. Yeah,
it was season
season
finale.
finale. So I mean, and now all of a sudden, it'll give or take a week, right, because of the time jump. Now all of a sudden he's on Glenn's team. Now Glenn's saying you got to keep in line, you got to follow every word I say. He did make a few comments like that. So I think I don't know why this guy's still around. Maybe you guys have better thoughts on this than me.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. It's to show that Glenn is more of a human, or humanist, if you will, than Rick is, and he's willing to forgive. And we're trying to see how this society is going to work, this post-apocalyptic society. And Glenn is trying to make it work in a way where just because someone screws up once or twice, even if it's a big screw up, if they are willing to work at it, if they are willing to try and better themselves, we have to at least give them a shot. Because otherwise, we are just cutting our numbers smaller and smaller.
Plus, there's that old adage about keep your enemies closer. Keep your friends closer, your enemies closer. I mean, if I were Glenn, I would want to keep an eye on Nicholas.
That's a good point.
I mean, after everything he'd done, who's to say he's not going to try to do something else even more horrible when everybody's out trying to put this plan together.
Well, plus I rewatched the finale right before the premiere since AMC was running a marathon of it, and definitely watching them back to back, you also got to remember where they were at the end of last season, where they were ready to kick Rick out because he had been waving the gun around, was acting all crazy in the street, had been knocked out by Michonne. And if Glenn had killed Nicholas or had come back without Nicholas, that would have just added fuel to the fire of this town not trusting them. And by forgiving Nicholas, bringing him in, and somewhat getting him on their side, it's going to do a lot to repair the relationship between the two groups inside the walls, or at least it's going to not harm them irreparably like it might have if he killed Nicholas. So that's just my thoughts on it based on last season as well.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I like the scene overall. That was a really just simple scene where the zombies were coming out the window and they just were taking them out almost single file. I think it was a really, really well directed scene again. I mean, the way they used the camera angles and the gunshots is just great. Keep it up.
So the walkers are continuing walking down the road, the large horde of them. Carter's watching them as they head down the road away from Alexandria. He realizes that Rick's plan is working and he apologizes for his earlier actions. And Rick says, Rick more or less forgives him and says they need to watch the zombies like cops at a parade, and they're going to fan out single file more or less along the road, and any stragglers that come away from the group, just kill them and make sure that, if you have to, fire your guns, keep the zombies moving in the right direction, all that kind of stuff. Carter runs to the front, but he misses a zombie who has been stuck at the side of the road, like in between two trees, and the zombie grabs him, bites his face, and Carter starts screaming, which starts attracting more walkers to leave the road. Rick has to, leave the group and run over to Carter and put Carter out of his misery after killing the zombie. And they're more or less able to get the zombies back on the road, at least at that point.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is the scene or not where they were banging against the fence and their heads were exploding.
That was a great shot. I love that. I mean, the CG was a little dodgy with the splatters,
Right.
and a little bit excessive, but the idea of it was really cool.
It's just the weight. I mean, I'm just trying to figure this out. So the weight of all those zombies making that turn and their bodies are so rotten that they just smash against the wall and they explode, essentially is what it is.
I don't know if I would say they were exploding necessarily,
Their
so much as it was just like, as the heads bang into the wall, like whatever goop and viscera is kind of loose on them, is just kind of splashing off. But it looked more like they were using so much gore that it looked like explosion, but I don't think that was quite accurate,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
I think they used it just right, too. They didn't overuse it. It was cool. I liked it.
It was a really neat shot. So everything, more or less, seems to be going according to plan, as rushed as it had to be, when a loud horn starts blaring out from a far distance away, back of the town, which attracts the back half of the herd towards the sound, and Rick and Michonne immediately realize the sound is coming from Alexandria, and they rush back with Morgan, and the episode ends.
Yeah, there was a scene, though, we may have, again, it's very a lot of interweaving in the show. There's
a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, with Jesse and Rick. I wanted to note,
Right.
I thought it was a little clunky. I didn't like that scene, to be honest with you. I thought, I don't know if the writing was off or the acting was off, but it just didn't seem very natural between the two of them, and I mean, couldn't you just say, look, man, you gotta give me some space, you killed my husband, just back off for a while. But no, it's just clunky. I don't know, like it's typical
Well, I
Walking
think
Dead.
the point more was, you can't speak to my son that way. You just murdered his father. He's not going to listen to you, no matter how smart and true the things you're saying to him are. You are the worst possible mouthpiece for this advice. Leave him alone.
There's also the scene where Rick's talking to Deanna about arming and training the people of Alexandria. It was one of the flashback scenes, I think.
Yeah.
And while that's happening, a small herd of walkers hits the build site, and they're like, it shows how ineffectual the people of Alexandria are, because Morgan has to rush in and help.
Yep.
Again, it's Rick's orders. Rick is like, nope, let them do it. You have to let them spread their wings a little bit, but Morgan's not willing to do that.
Right.
Because he said at the beginning of the episode, I don't take chances anymore, or something like that, or I guess, and Morgan threw those words back at him. What do you mean you don't take chances anymore? You let these people almost get killed, essentially, is what he was saying. And it shows, you're right, how unprepared the Alexandrians are just to face a few, half a dozen walkers in the forest. They're ill-equipped to deal with them.
While they've got long-handled weapons, shovels and picks right on them. It's not like they're just standing around being ambushed by
Right.
them. They have ample warning. They have weapons, but they are useless, more or less.
Well, I also like the way they did some of the intercutting too, like that scene with Rick and Morgan on the porch that you were talking about with Judith when he's on your Holman. But he's like, the essence, he talks about the fact that he didn't have to kill Carter because that kind of person, will die no matter what, because it's over for people like him in this kind of world.
Right.
And that was used after he was dead. That was used after he was killed already.
Yeah.
So the way they wove that in was very cool.
Yeah.
And they're still keeping up with the idea of Michonne not fully sure if Rick has lost it or not, which I like. Like, they're keeping it in the background. I don't think she says anything directly to him, but there's a lot of shots of her just watching him do things, and more siding with Morgan than with Rick.
Here's a question. Do you think that Morgan is going to play the role that Tyrese played in the comics a little bit, as Rick's consigliere and, kind of his conscience a little bit?
So I can totally see that. I mean, in the comics, like you say, there's a much more nuanced character than what we end up getting in the show. And Morgan seems to fit that bill as far as having that kind of depth and being able to talk to Rick that way. Really like get it. Like when he tells him later, he kind of calls him on his bullshit. Like, you don't take any chances, like you were saying before. You took chances with all these people's lives, and he kind of calls him on stuff. But like, I'm glad they kind of worked their stuff out in this episode. They didn't drag it on, for the whole season. I really like the scenes between them, and just feel like this kind of mutual respect for where each has come from, what each has had to go through. And my favorite line, probably the whole episode, was the one with Morgan and Michonne.
Oh, peanut butter.
He's like, yeah, did you take one of my peanut butter protein bars? And she's like, no, I didn't. He was like, I could have sworn there was one left.
That's great.
She goes, well, that's the way the world is now. You always think there's one more peanut butter protein bar left. I'm just like, that is awesome. Great writing there. Really fun.
Yeah, definitely fun. I mean, Daryl is not so much Rick's consigliere, although he is to a certain extent. He follows Rick's orders. Rick says do something, he'll do it. Morgan is more of his conscience, it seems like, and those two, I could just watch them, like you said, talking to each other, dialoguing with each other, at each other for an whole episode almost. I mean, you did see that clear, obviously. He was a little crazy in that one. A lot crazy in that one. Just great acting, and you're right, the Tyrese never materialized. I don't know if that was the actor Chad Coleman, or whatever it was, or the writing just didn't. But we never saw Tyrese like we saw him in the comics, and this it just popped in my head that he was going to be filling that role. It seems like it.
I mean, I would almost say that Carol is more filling that role. I mean, I'm trying to avoid spoiling anything from the comic, but I would say Morgan is more filling Morgan's role than anything else. But yeah, for me, I'd say if anybody other than Morgan is filling that role, it's Carol. Like, she might be a little bit more of a dark conscience, but she's not so dissimilar from someone who would fill that role.
I mean, you make a good point, because in this episode, he comes to Carol and tells her to keep an eye on Alexandria. It's not like he goes to Deanna or goes to anyone else who's going to be left behind, who's not going to be part of the mission or whatever. He goes to Carol. So yeah, he is. After all they've been through together, it's not surprising.
Like, Daryl might be the one to, like you were saying before, he tells Daryl to do something, Daryl will do it. He might not agree with it, he might tell Rick that, but he'll do it. Carol, if she disagrees, she might not do it, and she will tell him to his face that's a terrible plan. And they'll either come to terms with that or they won't, but she's the one person with the stones to be like, nope, that's not going to work for X, Y, and Z reason, here's what we're going to do instead. And I think in that case, Rick probably would listen to her in those cases. Because he knows enough to trust her, and that she's the smartest person out there by a good mile. In terms of survival, anyway. So that's pretty much the plot of the episode. And like you guys pointed out, there's a lot of flashing back and forth. I'm sure we missed some scenes. We kind of went back to some of the major ones in this, but there's a ton of stuff there. It was a 90-minute episode, like I said.
The overhead shot was awesome at the end.
Yeah.
Great crane shot. I mean, it wasn't crane. It was obviously digital CG. You felt you were in a helicopter. But either way, amazing pan out at the end just to see the scope of all those walkers heading right towards Alexandria. And it was just really well done.
And because they've been in a straight line, when all of them suddenly turn left, now you have just almost like a Revolutionary War or Civil War-esque, like just line after line, a mile long of zombies coming in a single direction, which is pretty awesome. And that shot is great because you have the trees breaking it up. But so as the shot keeps pulling back, it's not until you get to the last few seconds of the pullout where you can see the upper right-hand corner of the screen where there's a couple of like open spaces where you really see just like the scope and the breadth of how many zombies are just heading all towards Alexandria. My only complaint about that shot, because I agree it's gorgeous, is I wish the camera had panned over a little bit to give us some sense of what was causing the horn sound. Obviously, it's a horn of some type, but I'm curious where. Or at least to show us how far away they are from town. Like it would be great if the shot pulled back, panned over, and you could see we're a quarter mile away from town, or half mile, or 2 miles, or whatever it is. Just to give us that sense of space would have been nice.
I think the horn being sounded. Pete's son is named Ron. Yeah.
The other son, yeah.
I think he's trying to mess with Rick's plan on purpose and like make sure Rick's plan fails, so Rick fails.
I was thinking that too. I thought all right, if it wasn't him, he may turn into part of the wolf pack later on. And if it wasn't him, maybe it was the wolf pack doing the horn as well. So it's either him or the wolves. I can't imagine it being somebody else, although they could introduce another enemy this early on to really mix things up. I'm sure it's possible. But that would sound like a train horn, to be honest with you. That's what that sounded like. Or maybe a diesel truck horn. Like kind of like the truck they had at that trap they had set up for Daryl and for Aaron, I guess his name was.
Yeah, at the cannery. Yeah.
At the cannery, yeah. So it could have been a truck that they retrofitted with the air horn on it. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely something with Ron, but it may not be what we think it is.
So let's take a moment to talk about our sponsor really quick. Of course, our sponsor is Discount Comic Book Service at dcbservice.com and their sister site InStockTrades.com. Well, comics are expensive, and here's the way DCB Service works. You go there, you see which comics are coming out this month and next month and the month after that, and you tell them, hey, I want these books. Then they send you those books, one nice box, or you can space it out however you want. Whether you want books every 2 weeks, every month, all that kind of stuff. You get them at a super deep discount. We're talking 30%, 40%, sometimes even more than 50% off on these books. They send them to you, you get them, you read them, you enjoy them, and you save a ton of money. They don't just have comics, though. They've also got comic-related merchandise, hats, t-shirts, hoodies, statues, Funko Pop vinyls, like I have a few of here on my desk, all that kind of stuff. If you like The Walking Dead, you're going to be able to find awesome deals on Walking Dead related merchandise at dcbservice.com and InStockTrades.com, and you're going to save a lot of money on those. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. So shall we give our Buster ratings for the episode, gentlemen? Aaron and Rich obviously couldn't be here tonight, but they both sent in their thoughts for the episode. So since Aaron's name comes first, alphabetically with a double A, let me get his first. He says, yo, that might just be to me and not part of the part of his Busters, but I'll read it anyway. Yo, my thoughts on first time again. This episode came very close to being pretty much a perfect episode of Walking Dead. That doesn't make it the best, but it was very satisfying for a number of reasons. While a gimmicky way to combine 2 episodes, I love the flashback structure. I was also very happy with the amount of character focus in the midst of so many walkers on display. Morgan is a terrific addition to the cast so far, and I'm also excited for learning more about the members of Alexandria. Glenn may be being set up for an untimely end, but I do like the decision to have him working so closely involved with the man who tried to kill him. Best of all is seeing Rick in no-nonsense mode to a dark degree. More curious than ever to see how things progress for his character. And can we please have him flat out shut down Father Gabriel more often, please? 4.5 out of 5 Busters. And you can read his full review over at theyoungfolks.com. And I agree. Can we please shut down Father Gabriel more often? Because that was awesome.
Yeah, we can keep him alive if we keep doing that. I give it 4.75 out of 5. And as I alluded to at the beginning of the show here, the best episode I've seen in the series has been the last season opener, season 5 opener, and I think before that would be the season 3 opener. Those would be 5 out of 5 for me. I've given those, looking back at my Buster history, I did give them 5. This one I give it 4.75 again. It was very entertaining. The action was just intense. The scope was bigger than we've ever seen before. I like the interweaving with the creative time jumping and the black and white and not black and white. I think they may have done a little bit too much of it, but it worked though. It didn't pull me out of it, but I did like it. The editing, of course, was very good. Greg Nicotero, excellent director. I mean, it really doesn't get better than that. Scott Gimple writing it doesn't get better than that. And hell, like I said, watching Morgan and Rick just dialogue at each other again. Excellent episode. I'm looking forward to more this season. 4.75 Busters for me.
Rich says, here are my thoughts. This was the best season opener by far. This episode title, First Time Again, is spot on. This feels like a new show with familiar characters. It was all hitting all the notes on the theme of Walking Dead by dealing with their zombie problems, but focusing on the humans and their reactions. I really enjoyed the relationship building with Glenn and Nicholas's friends. The scene with Maggie and Tara showing us enemies can become friends and almost like family. Morgan and Rick talking about who they are and what they know about each other was great. I hope we get a good flashback or two to see what Morgan went through since Clear. I'm a big fan of Ethan Embry and was excited he was on the show. I was hoping he would be a character we would see for a while. However, his character served a good purpose of showing us how far Rick has come in dealing with this world. If not for Luck in the Wall, Embry's character and most of the Alexandrites would have been dead long ago. Do we see a little of the Governor in Rick? Has his heart hardened to where he cannot have some inner peace? Are Morgan and Rick going to split due to each character shift in the way we think? Who is honking that f***ing horn? This was a great episode. Very little complaint about. Great zombie scenes too. The tight squeeze Walker that lost half his flesh to the side of the truck only to take a Dixon bolt to the noggin was awesome. I give this episode 5 stars and it's a bias to boot. Looking forward to awesomeness this season.
I give this a 4.75 as well. Great episode from end to end. Good direction, good writing, good character stuff, and good zombie stuff as well, which is a good balance. That sometimes it's hard to find on the show, but they definitely found in this episode. Again, I like Aaron and everyone else said, I like the flashback sequences. I like the structure, the black and white, and the color. Thought it worked really well. The juxtapositions of the different flash forwards, flashbacks. Just really, I thought it worked. Fired on all cylinders. Great stuff. 4.75 for sure.
And for me, I'm going to go with Aaron and give it a 4.5 out of 5. I really liked it, but there was a couple parts where the 90 minutes showed how long it was, if you will. There was a lot of cool things that they were able to use that extra time for, like we talked about that really long shot of the zombies all following Daryl. But there were also places where I was like, yeah, you could have trimmed 30 seconds of that, you could have trimmed a minute off that. Is this particular flashback actually that necessary? It was all interesting stuff, but a lot of it felt like it could have been cut without really losing anything from the episode. Still really solid. The zombie action was great. The character work was great. It just could have used some of that being trimmed. But still, very solid 4.5 out of 5 from me. But who cares what we think?
Who
what do our
cares?
listeners think, Jim?
Well, it's funny you asked, Jordan, because we have a...
Is it really not funny since I ask every single week?
More funny, peculiar than funny.
It is weird. That's the same thing every week. It's almost like I can't find an answer to my question.
It's almost like Pinky in the Brain. You're asking me if I'm pondering what you're pondering, and I'm never pondering what you're pondering, brain. But anyway, that was a digression. We have a great Facebook group. It's called the Walking Dead TV Podcast Facebook group, oddly enough, since it is named after the show that you're listening to called the Walking Dead TV Podcast, and we are over 600 members strong. We have a lot of great discussion, good news feed there, a lot of really good community there has grown up on the Facebook group. Good discussion, really respectful discussion too. There's not a lot of trolls, not a lot of flaming on that part, just a lot of people talking about the Walking Dead and being fans like we are. And we ask you every week to give your Buster ratings for the episode of Walking Dead, and this week, being the premiere, of course, would be no exception. Seth Tillman, 4.5 Carter's Missing Cheeks. Great start to the season. I love how the flashbacks fill in the blanks while the story also moved forward. Jenny Cox, a 4.5 cuts on Rick's face. Yeah, he was kind of looking like Marvin Sin City there for a little bit, with like 200 band-aids on. There was so much going on in this episode. I enjoyed the massive mob of walkers and the execution and moving them away from Alexandria. It's nice to know how they're able to stay safe for so long. Is this the first time black and white has been used for flashbacks? I think so.
For flashbacks, yes. Like we said earlier, the first season was aired once or twice on AMC in black and white, and the pilot more times than that, I think. But this was the first time in episode from the beginning we've had any black and white that I can remember.
I think they did a scene where on the barn loft where Rick was talking to Carl and he played it back. They went back to that scene from season 2. I think that was in black and white. And I forget even where they even used that flashback, but I do recall it being black and white. I could be wrong.
It's possible. Was it black and white when we saw it the second time, but colored the first
Right,
time?
because it was colored the first time when it happened in the episode, but then when it was called back, and again, I forget which episode it was used in. I thought it was black and white. It's like where Rick is saying, I'm going to die, your mother's going to die. Oh, I know where it was. It was where Carl killed Lori. That he was playing that back in his head, that scene where Rick was giving him some good advice.
Okay, but this would be the first time we've seen new material in black and white, probably.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, continue on, Jim.
Susan Monk, 3 out of 5 pizzas that Glenn should be delivering. Although he'd totally be the pizza shop manager by now. She revised that down from 4 after thinking about the black and white more. It just didn't feel right, even though it looked amazing. They didn't have to go so far to let us know it was a different time, so she gave out -1 for dumbing it down. Brent Jones, solid 4. Judith looked just like Shane, out of 5.
Ow.
Oh, OPP. No complaints here. Excellent job of filling the backstory while jumping into this season. I never laughed so many times at a Walking Dead episode. Everard Santa Marina, a 4.5. Go big or go home out of 5 while they really outdid themselves. I'm wondering when this will play itself out. Literally, there may be enough action from this incursion to last the whole season. My favorite was Eugene, though. Each of his scenes were cringe-worthy deliciousness capped by his one-liners. I don't remember Rick's crush having an older child. Do we know about Ron last season? Really, it's that bad. I don't even bother remembering the names of the cast anymore.
We saw Ron last year.
Right.
Wasn't he the original love interest of Enid? And
I
then Carl
think
showed
we
up?
meet him in the first scene that we meet Enid in, but I don't know if they ever portrayed him as a love interest, just like he's one of the other teenagers there.
Yeah, but I definitely get the point he's making is the cast is getting pretty big. It's
That is
time for winnowing fairly soon, I think. Mike Jones, 4 Lost style flashbacks out of 5. I enjoyed the style and black and white color of the episode. Simply put, it's nice to have some Walking Dead worth caring about again. Ouch. Ooh, what a burn. Max Silver, 4.5 lookouts Carter should have had out of 5. That was one fine episode, so glad he's back. David B. the third, 4.5 black and whites out of 5. It was lost with the flashbacks for a little bit. Get it? Lost. But really enjoyed how they tied each flashback to the present events. Trish Taylor Collins, 4 Busters out of 5. Carter couldn't save face in the end. See what you did there, Trish. But the best news is Morgan is back and Lady James' name is in the main cast credits for real. Tarek Awar, looks like I'm breaking the 4-score mold here. I'm giving this episode 5 creepy Eugene smiles out of 5. Honestly, found nothing wrong with this episode. It brought out every emotion in me. Looks like Alexandria has to learn the hard way how to survive the Walker apocalypse. Belinda Ake, I feel so out of place. Too long of artsy-fartsy trying too hard episodes out of 5. Ooh, we could have done all this in an hour, taking the extra long commercials and shove them where the sun don't shine, and save trying to shove their other overly violent content down my throat. Robert Negro is 3 Carters out of 5. I want to watch this one again. I was hanging on the edge of my couch, which was good, but I did have issue with the zombie pen concept. Not only did I think it was too convenient a threat and too improbable for that made it mess. I noticed the trailers in the quarry didn't seem to be blocked off underneath. Well, I don't know. It worked for me. That wasn't a sticking point for me.
Well, I don't think the idea was ever that no zombies could ever get out. It was just that they were blocked enough that only a few were getting out from time to time. So, I mean, I think that still works, but I totally get what you're saying.
Hezron Mack is 4. We need some comic relief, please, out of 5. I thought Eugene filled that fairly well. Great episode, just felt it dragged us on the flashbacks. Somebody better give Rick some sex and compassion. He's being written as a grumpy old man. Paul McEachern.
To be fair, he is a grumpy old man.
He has a lot to be grumpy about.
Yeah, that's true. He's earned his grump.
Yeah, no doubt. Paul McEachern, 5 out of 5 Busters, one of the most expansive WD episodes yet. The choice to shoot in black and white for past and color for present was a fantastic convention, and I loved it. Luke Smith posted a picture of Sam Neill and Laura Dern from Jurassic Park with the quote, "They do move in herds."
That's great.
5 out of 5 Rick's comical band-aids from Judith Matthews. Love the humor. Creepy gooey walkers. Eugene stumbling. Protein bar missing. Flashy Becky episode. The Walking Dead rarely does flashbacks, but this time done perfectly. So glad it's back. Loved every second. So good and well acted. Even the bratty teens were perfect in their whiny, annoying, beanie-headed ways. There's some grumpiness for you. Alan Rutledge, 4.5 out of 5 Abraham foil blankets. I really like the stylized black and white to color contrast. Very reminiscent of a Better Call Saul episode in style and pace. Yeah, that's true. Like when they showed him in the Cinnabon or whatever, those were black and white scenes.
That's true.
Yeah. But that was flash forward, though, right?
Right.
Technically, yeah, that is the exact opposite. You're correct.
Yeah. Also, Judith Matthews says, it stomped fear into the ground. I hate to say it, but fear is like, what? There's Walking Dead? Ooh. A sense of rivalry. Richard Chopper Cherry Charrington. Welcome back to The Walking Dead. Great start to the series. I'll give it 4 Sunday walks with walkers out of 5. It loses a point for the worst CGI truck ever at the start, though. Looking forward to Rick and Morgan working together, or maybe they'll be against each other. And as a bonus, now we get Talking Dead over here in the UK every week now, straight after.
Maybe it's worth mentioning that The Talking Dead is also going to be on the Fear of The Walking Dead starting next season.
Yep,
Every episode.
And next week on The Walking Dead, not only are they going to have Kevin Smith, but also Paul Bettany is going to be a guest on the show. How weird is that?
Wow, Chris Hardwick's getting a lot of paychecks. Yeah, he is. Tanya Royston, a solid 4 out of 5. Who ate my last peanut butter bar? Really love seeing new different pairings of our family. Eugene's comic relief was much needed as I nibbled my nails to nubs. Wow. Carl Hooker, maybe it's the contrast to Fear, but gives us 5. Morgan's creamy peanut butter protein bars out of 5. Love the back and forth, even if it was a bit deliberate at times. A good pacing of action mixed with character development. My guess is that Gabriel is blowing the horn because, well, that would just make the most biblical sense.
Oh, wow.
That is true. That's a really good point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he
kinda
was
like
just
that.
yeah. And he did just get snubbed by Rick again. So.
I mean, he's definitely off his rocker. He left the gate open last the season finale. I mean, yeah, it's possible. Wow, good call. Good
And
prediction.
he let all those walkers from the elementary school last season too.
Yeah, he's not good.
Yeah. Good call there, Carl. If you would like to let us know what you think about each episode of The Walking Dead, we'd love to hear about it, and we'd love to have you in our Facebook group. As I mentioned at the beginning of the segment, it's called the Walking Dead TV Podcast Facebook group, oddly enough. And we'd love to have you join it, so please do. It's a great community of fans. Oh, and I also wanted to mention the ancillary Facebook group, Stuff and Things.
Yes, sir. Now, that one has spoilers, just as a warning. That was specifically created as a side group that does have spoilers for the show and comics. So
Yeah.
if you want to stay away from them, which I totally get,
Right.
stay away from them too.
Our Facebook group is spoiler-free for the most part, but the Stuff and Things Splinter group is full spoilers, comics and show, and a little more irreverent. So if you appreciate that, check out their Facebook group as well.
And it's Fangs, Thangs.
Yes, like Rick would say.
Like Rick would say it.
So that's pretty much it for this week's episode. Of course, we're going to talk about what's going to happen next week on The Walking Dead after the end here, but if you don't want it to be spoiled, we totally get it. Until next week, though, you can send us an email, wdtv@hhwlod.com, or follow us on Twitter @hhwlod_network. I'm at JordanFRM Jersey, Jim is at Yoda Jones, and Craig is at Auto Chat Show. And Jim, you can be heard on the DCTV podcast every week here at hhwlod.com. And Craig, your show, the Auto Chat Show, can also be found on iTunes and all over the place.
All over the place. Just do a search, and yes, we have plenty of episodes. Next episode, we're reviewing the Chrysler 200, in case you're wondering. Should be a lot of fun.
And of course, head over to hhwlod.com and check out all of our many podcasts on a plethora and multitude of topics, all very nerdy, but all very fun, so check that out as well. And so until there's no room in hell in the dead walk the earth, remember, respect the hair game. Have a good week, everybody.
Take care.
You always think there's one more peanut butter protein bar. You really do, but
Isn't that how it always works?
I guess that's the way the world is now.
All right, so next week on The Walking Dead, of course, if you don't want to know anything, cut out now. We won't be offended. See you next week. But
Bye, Jerry.
next week on The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 2 is entitled JSS. And the brief synopsis we have from TVI.com, which I've got to totally disagree with the first line here, but it says, as things begin to return to normal, what? A new problem arises for the Alexandrians. I guess they're really trying to avoid spoilers, but things did not seem to be returning to normal to me from this episode. And the scene we got from Talking Dead was Enid, good old Enid, heading out into the woods by herself. She finds a zombie by a car. She kills the zombie. She takes its jacket. She hides in the car. And then in the dust on the window, she writes, watch me. No, she writes JSS. And that's all we got in that scene. So is that a code? Is that just her doodling? Does it have some type of message? We shall find out next week.
Find out.
All right, have a good one, everybody.
Check.
And
Audio.
let's try this call and response. Just count down the numbers. 1,
2,
3,
4,
5,
6,
7. Okay, that's
8.
probably fine.
Okay, yep.
I've been trying to come up with an idea for like what's the easiest thing for, because you know the first like 20-30 seconds of every episode is just testing all those kind of things, and so I can't really use that to line it up, and then it's trying to find like when people are having conversations. Sometimes that's not for like 2 minutes into the file. And
True.
then it's only 2 people, so then the third person pays all out of whack, and I don't know for a few minutes. So.
Right. No, it's a good idea to count it down. Like, again, when we record with Teddy, I just go, and this is Teddy K, and he goes, hey, what's up, everybody? And like, that's his intro, and I line it up to that. But it's just him. When you got 3 or 4 people, it's kind of hard to do that, I guess.
I don't know how the counting thing would work with that. Unless I went 1, everybody else went 2, then I said 3, everybody else went 4. I don't know. I'm still working on it.
All right, Jim. 3, 2, 1, record.
Boom.
And Jim, we were trying this earlier. Just not repeat after me, but continue the sequence. 1,
1,
2,
2,
3,
3,
4.
4.
Okay, that works.
That works too.
What the hell are we fighting for?
We introduced, and wasn't introduced last season as, you know,
That was our running joke in
Oh,
the episode where we say introducing Major Dodson. What's her name? Alexandra? Not Alexandra.
Deanna?
No. Jesse. Jesse. Her name's
Jesse.
Jesse. Yeah. I was like, no, Jesse's name. What's her name again? Jesse.